Alright, sweet. So, right now we're just going to be talking about Vigil. If you guys want to follow me over to flank, we're just going to talk about offense first. Or come over to spawn. Now there's a couple of ways that I like to do offense, but the main important one that I really want you guys to just nail down. Make sure that there's no stickies up here. Make sure that there's no stickies up here. You and your soldier, you guys get 450 and 300 respectively, and you guys just take control of flank. From there, you guys just don't feed banner, but you're getting ready in a position where you can drop down into flank so you can kill the gun. The main way that you do that is your soldier bombs, and you peek while he's bombing in. You don't peek right after, you don't peek before, you just peek at the same exact time. And this is also in conjunction with whatever your combo wants to do. So if your combo is walking main during a post fight, this is essentially what you guys would be doing, just helping your team out by drawing eyes, and then they're capitalizing off of the opportunity that you create for them. Another thing that you can try to do is you might be able to just play over here for a little bit. This is especially good if people are dead over hill, maybe the soldier's dead over here. You don't need to do all too much, you just can get arrows from this angle. Just be careful of spy, especially if you're trying to protect somebody. Like if a sniper is playing over here with you in flank, you're going to be sitting somewhere around him just protecting. Sometimes you might need to be able to, you might have to check under here, for example. This is the best way that you can do it, just sitting on top of the pallets, then jumping back up. And if you fall all the way down, this is the way that you have to do the jump. It takes a little bit of practice, and you can do it with Guru a whole lot easier, but there we go. Yeah. Overall, offense is kind of dictated by what you and your combo is doing, so communication there is important. If you don't know what your combo is doing, remember, you have the space. If you have the space, please look, and you always can ask your demo what's going on. But you should also be aware, if they're going in for an Uber, do not ask them if you guys are going in with an Uber once they're done with that Uber. So just listen to comms, and see what your team wants to be done, and then you and your soldier, whoever commands the other, just says, hey, let's go for a play. You guys get ready, and then you guys drop down, kill the gun, and if you die for it, it's fine, as long as you're killing other players, or as long as you're getting people's attention. But I don't want you guys to really do it when Uber's happening. Or maybe, actually, I don't know, it's a little bit weird when it comes to doing it in the middle of an Uber, because generally that's not what you should be doing. Generally what you should be doing is waiting for a post fight, then when your demo's walking in, you give them that aid. But during an Uber, you pretty much do the exact same thing, but you and your soldier are going after the gun that the demo wants to kill. You guys respawn, and when your demo wants to peek again, you guys are already in flank, just getting ready. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird play, and it's very team dependent, so if you guys want to talk it out with your team, I'd suggest you do that before you go and do something like this. Just go off of what your team wants to do as opposed to what I'm telling you to do. Because I'm just giving you the foundation to go like, hey, we're ready to go flank, or hey, it's not working in flank, let's just wait a little bit for my team to walk through and we can get some space. The other idea that I like is, this is purely just for a sack on the heavy overhill. This is with your demo, soldier, and you. You get whips out over here, you're being mindful of any soldier who's playing aggressive, and then you're just waiting for like your demo, your soldier to get ready. You guys have buffs, 3, 2, 1. I really want you to try and kill this heavy right here. And notice the way that I was doing that. Instead of like revving all the way over here and walking towards him, it's kind of useful for you to just not so much jump rev into him, but to guarantee some damage by just placing yourself in a position where you're closer to him, if that makes sense. Like, you're not directly jump revving into him like this. You're more so jump revving into the position that you want to get to, because there is a precedence to guarantee damage. If you get guaranteed damage, your classes have a much better time to killing the heavy, and then if the heavy dies, that allows your combo to focus their attention all over the flank for an Uber exchange, and yeah, it's going to be pretty good if you end up killing that heavy. If for whatever reason you live, just try getting whatever you can, but you're most likely just going to die in this spot. This is purely just for killing the heavy overhill. And if it doesn't work out, your best plan is for you to just get 450, and for you to walk all the way over here. I also don't really want you to play over hill to begin with, but if you do want to play over hill, I'll just tell you how to do it. The most important part And the things that you need to look out for: sniper who should be over by these areas kind of just sitting, killing you, and people playing in flank, namely demo and the gun. Now the way that you want to do this is you don't want to present yourself to the heavy, but you want to get over to this spot as quickly as possible. Once this spot's kind of given, that's when you can start going ahead and try to fight this heavy with the space that you have. But just be mindful of people walking over flank and trying to shoot you at the same time. The reason why I don't want you to do this play is mostly just because you're much better in flank. Your soldier can't do stuff alone, and even though your presence is felt over cliff, that's more of your engineer and scout's job. That's more of people just trying to get over cliff who's not you. Like sniper would benefit more than you if you get the spot. A demo would benefit more than you if you get this spot. The only real thing that I want you guys to worry about is just focusing on that flank fight. And I want you guys to try killing the gun. I don't want you guys to go for something crazy. I just want you guys going for something that's just consistent. At least on first offense. And if you find the time, just try to push the card a little bit. One thing that you might have a question about is, hey, you know, there's a big area where we can drop down into main. Why don't you suggest we do that? The idea is like, it's kind of not really that good for you to do this anyway. It might be an idea for some teams, but for my team, they don't really want me to do this all too much. If anything, they'd have me playing behind cart and kind of just being somebody consistently pushing it. But again, your presence is felt over flank more than anyone else, or more than anywhere else. So if you play in main, that's going to hurt your flank fight, and people are just going to hide, and people are just going to try and jump at your medic when they get the chance to. So I suggest you guys just try to master the flank fight before you do anything else, but even still, the only time where I want you over hill is to go for an immediate sack on their heavy. Once he's dead, fight flank, kill gun, and you might die for it, but your team is going to get that advantage from you. Any questions so far? Alright, sweet. One thing though, this is mostly pertaining to people holding flank. If they're holding by chicken wire, you pretty much do the exact same thing, but your main priority is focused on the soldier and the scout who's going to be playing in flank. Sometimes the heavy will be there as well, and if he is, he's either going to be sitting in this corner, or he's going to be playing all the way over by this log, playing the head glitch, which is really annoying but very exploitative if your team knows how to play against it. But the most important part, when you are fighting, just be mindful of every single thing that your combo is doing. If you don't know what's happening, it's going to be a worse fight for you, but also, you could even get some cheeky picks as well. Let's just say you're playing over here just waiting for something to happen. Then you see like a spy decloaking on your medic. You can tell him, shoot him a little bit, and then boom, your usefulness is increased because you're just looking out for your team at that point. And then if people are walking into you, let's just say for maybe an Uber exchange, and your soldier and you aren't in, maybe this could be a nice opportunity for you to not drop down, but just play up here and kind of shoot people, and then go into flank when your team is ready to push. I'd much rather it be a window as opposed to a door, if that makes sense. But yeah, other than that, make sure that when you are pushing the cart, you watch out for stickies over by this angle, you watch out for people playing in tunnel. That's why if you do end up kitting flank, I don't really want you to like play deep into main unless you have your team. The thing that I suggest you doing is kind of clearing out this area, clearing out telly, just clearing out everything, being mindful of sniper, but also just being prepared to fight in not weird angles, but angles that are not really that exploitative. Like, let's just say the demo on the red team tries to refight because they're heavies in tunnel. Instead of playing out over here, where you're going to get exposed, killed, and then, you know, have to wait a little bit, and possibly lose that refight, you can hide over here a little bit, shoot people in tunnel, back up if you need to, then you could spy check for your team, but also, you're just in a position where if the demo walks into you, you're in a prime position to just kind of jump on him, get some communication going. You have some really nice sightlines, but this is kind of like the end game, and that's only if the demo wants to stay in. But demos, usually, if they're smart, either die beforehand, which is not smart, but that kind of just happens sometimes, or they leave before they can get a chance to try and repush. Some teams will repush into you, so please keep this in mind. This is just one of those few angles that is really nice. Other times you will be repushed in when you're fighting cart, And if you are, just try to holding cart as best as possible, playing with your team, watching out for spy, all that sort of stuff. But against a team that's smart, the thing that they're going to try to do is they're going to try to get some sort of damage onto you guys from tunnel, which loses crit heals, which I don't want you to do. I also don't want you to lose crit heals over by this side too. And I'll just show it real quick, because this is a thing that you'll deal with. Soldiers know where to aim. And no matter where you stand, it's kind of impossible not to eat splash. If you're playing over by this window, we'll call it, you get hit by splash over by this wall, over by this area, and the soldier, all he needs to do is just like peek you for a little bit and shoot the angle, and you'll sometimes just be hit. That's why I suggest standing over here, because at least if the soldier's shooting at you, your soldier's in a position where he can catch him out, and you're in a position where you can catch him out. But you're also not eating damage from people on cliff, like from this heavy. Maybe a sniper wants to sit there, but yeah, just be careful. Besides that, just one more thing for offense before we go into defense. When you are pushing cart and you have it pushed all the way over here, what I want you to do is just go through main tunnel and keep on pushing it with a 450 buff, with a soldier, possibly a scout, but I don't want you to go over hill unless they're all dead. Cart time is really important, and if they're not all dead, your priority, get 450, make sure that the tunnel goes all the way through into the lip right over here. And just make sure that you're watching out for the spy, because smart teams will just have their spy sitting behind, giving comms for their team, and you need to be prepared for that. But you also have an opportunity to maybe catch him out. Just be on the lookout for him. Alright, now for defense. Defense kind of boils down to if you're playing chicken wire or if you're playing aggressive. More teams are gravitating towards playing aggressive, so I'll tell you the entire game plan for this kind of like the first minute of the game, pretty much. In the beginning, you hide over here, wait about 5 seconds, start spraying for spy, nobody shows up, but instead of playing this corner, right, what I want you to do is when you know they're getting ready to push at you through main, like if your spy is calling it out, or you just get that feeling that you're going to get walked at from people in main, instead of playing in this corner where you're going to die and be farther away from your team, play this angle. Sure, it might not be the best for people pushing into you over cliff, but that's not what the Uber is about. The Uber is mainly just to kill people in cart, or not people in cart, sorry. The Uber on blue is mainly designed to kill the gun and kill the people who are not being Ubered. You are the prime target for that. They're gonna shoot at the cart, or they're gonna shoot from the cart at your gun, deal enough damage, and when you guys Uber, they're gonna focus you. That's the main priority with their Uber. That's why you also have to stand over here, because if your team needs to drop down, you're Ubered and you're right next to them to hopefully catch people out. But also, once the Uber is completely done, you go back onto the rock, and then you start playing over here, and then you gravitate between playing on this little lip over here, watching out for people walking over hill, and playing in the back corner if people are overwhelming you, people are walking into you and you need an arrow. That's the main minute, 2 minutes of holding the entire game, or the entire first round, or not, sorry, my bad, the entire first point, not round, not anything like that. But the main thing that people will try to look for is any opportunity they can to kill you or to deal a whole bunch of damage to you, so you're forced to eat in the corner, for example, or just be in a position where you can't hold, you can't eat, you have to play tunnel, and that's where it becomes really hard to defend if your team is holding forward. So, what do I suggest you do? I think that it's mostly dependent on what you're able to get away with. If you're able to play over here, if you're able to stand on top of the cliff and kind of just rain hell onto the other team, you can tell your demo, like, hey, you know, if the demo's playing aggressive with you on main tracks, like, hey, they're playing in main, deal damage to them. And then your demo deals damage, you kill everybody, you kill people who are retreating. It's nice, but it's also not that common. The other thing that you need to look out for, snipers playing in the flank shack over here. If they see you through this window and you're not prepared for it, you're just gonna die. As unfortunate as it is, you kind of just have to deal with it. If you see the sniper over there, the best thing that you can do, hold off, just wait a little bit, spy check. If you don't have anybody in your line of sight, just be on the lookout for spies. Look main tracks, look tracks, look in this corner by the packs, It's really important that you kill the spy when he's crossing, if you can. The other thing that you want to make out, or want to not let happen, people just getting over you and going into tunnel. Spies will do this, scouts will do this. Sometimes other people will do this, but usually scout and spy. If they get behind, it's going to be a massive problem for your team. So please, with your scout, just helping you along this way. Be on the lookout for spies, be on the lookout for anybody trying to jump over you, especially if you're in a position where you can't defend. And also, just one more thing. This entire cliff face, it seems very static. It seems very, you know, two-dimensional, where it's like you play over here if you want to get an Uber. You play over here if you want to be protected. You play over here if you want to be aggressive. But it's not really like that. You play over here to play aggressive with your team. I sometimes do this whenever I don't have to worry about cliff, like let's just say the cliff players are dead, and instead of playing it like this, instead I really like to drop down and kind of play main with my combo, which seems a little bit weird, but if you're playing aggressive with your demo, and your demo is on the same, you know, timing as you, and you guys have flank situated, anybody walking into you just kind of instantly evaporates. The other thing that you gotta look out for, the angles where you're able to see people on cliff. I have killed so many people just because instead of sitting here, I just sit here and wait for arrows. And people who are aggressive, they walk into me instead of them walking in, or they instead of me being in a position where they're walking. Sorry, my bad. They're walking into me not being prepared, as opposed to me sitting in the corner where they are prepared for where I'm at, or where I'll possibly be. Let's just say if I play this corner, I'm playing really passive, I'm waiting for them to do something. If I play over here, I'm the one in control, because I have this head glitch, they have to walk over to me, and I can always get this head glitch back. They're forced to play back, or they're forced to die. Simple as that. But, yeah, there's a lot of nuance with Cliff. The most important part is that you keep yourself alive, you don't go for any unnecessary stuff. Like, if you play Cliff, be mindful of Sniper. Usually you just want to be aware for, you know, where that Sniper is, whether that spy is calling it, your soldier's calling it. But the other thing is just don't peek unnecessarily unless that call's given. That's just a nice little rule of thumb that people will sometimes forget, but it's important nonetheless, because if you're peeking a very aggressive angle, people are going to look at you as more of a target. People are going to do more things to try and kill you, and sometimes the easiest thing is to just send a sniper on the roof over there and kind of just deal with you. So the next best thing is to just hold your ground. Be smart about it, but don't play way too aggressive that you get caught out by these things. You want to make sure that people are walking into you, and if you are walking into them, you want to make sure that they're not looking at you, and that you're fully buffed. And alongside this, you know, 7 seconds into the... Once it's 7 seconds setup time, or 11 seconds setup time, throw a sandwich to your combo and make that a habit. If you do have the chance, throw a sandwich. If you're not being overwhelmed, but if you are starting to be overwhelmed, no issue eating a sandwich. But just remember, it's 4 seconds out of your life that you can be using to help your team. You're kind of allowing yourself to live, but you're also not doing anything. You're just a static target. But is there any other questions for Cliff? Your mic is really quiet. Sorry, I heard like the faintest yes, but... Yeah, sorry. Was that anybody's like phone or something?
Might have been my phone. I was checking something.
Jesus. Alright. I know I'm not crazy, I just heard like some fucking vocoded yes or something. I don't... My bad.
Yeah, probably my phone.
Alright. But, just one other thing. Or a couple of other things. If you are being overwhelmed, feel free to drop down and play the tunnel. And when you are playing tunnel, it's the exact same thing as Cliff. You watch out for spy, you make sure that nobody's able to get over here, like a scout, most importantly. And when you do regress, watch for this window angle, you watch for people on Cliff. In fact, I don't want you playing over here. I want you either playing inside the tunnel, where there are people walking into you. I want you playing over here, away from the window, but you're still able to hold out, or you're still able to protect people, or protect your team from walking on Cliff. And people who are pushing cart will have to deal with you if you are playing aggressive with your team. And I want you to do that. I want this to be a normal thing that you guys try to normalize. If your demo's ready to reaggress, this is how you reaggress it from tunnel. You do this. And you play your angles, of course, but you don't walk in unless your team is walking in with you. That's when you start reclaiming space. That's when you go ahead and try taking cliff again. And remember, you should always have a line on cliff. You should always have an eye on cliff. If you're not on cliff, people are going to walk over, and you want to know what's going to happen. It's going to allow for a sniper to come over here, take some pot shots at your medic. It's going to allow scouts to bleed people from across the map. It's going to allow demos to sticky across over here as well. Your presence over on cliff is important. So please keep yourself alive. Alright? And one last thing. If you are rotating out, the easiest way is through tunnel. And you want to be attentive of that. If your demo's dead, if the gun's dead, if it looks like a shoddy forward hold, tell your team to back up. Or, if you want to guarantee that your med, other people live, sometimes you kind of have to die with the ship. And I don't really want to suggest that because it seems like a salvage. Because it kind of is. I want you guys to be able to walk out all at the same time. And if you are, you're walking straight out tunnel. But I'd rather you die than your medic die and you guys lose second because of that. But yeah, that's pretty much essentially it. Once you leave tunnel, just make sure that you're paying attention to people forward. If your team then wants to reaggress, remember what I said beforehand of playing this angle if you want to play aggressive, playing this angle if you want to play passive, making sure that you're walking in the same line as your team when they're holding W. With that said, that's first in its entirety. Do you guys have any questions? Alright, sweet. Just one more thing before we go ahead. Some teams will want you to do this and they maybe play chicken wire or they play over by cliff, kind of doing what you're doing. The most that I can really say is if your team wants you forward and flank instead of playing cliff, this is the way you do it. You kind of wait for your soldier and scout to call you in, but once you do, instead of playing the angle close like this, make sure to play it wide. Because again, you want to be the first one shooting. You have shadows, so you're able to see people walking through. And you can take the fight into them more aggressively if you play it wide as opposed to playing close. Because if you play it close, he can see me while I'm not able to see him. But that's pretty much it. Now, for offense on second, there's a couple of things that needs to be taken care of. Where does your team want you to push? Where is the most successful places that you can push, and what does each push entail? So for offense, like we said before, just before we got onto defense on first, I want you guys pushing the cart all the way to the lip over here, right by a tunnel entrance. And during this time, I want you fully healed, full 450, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit tricky, but I've never actually seen that before, sorry. I'm seeing somebody shadow through the floor. Where? Can you stand still for a moment? Hold on. Oh, that's fucking freaky. Jesus. This is why you turn on shadows. You could just do this for whatever reason. But anyway. There's a couple of things that can change. And the number one thing is if your combo wants to take an uber aggressive in through main. This is usually done at the beginning. It's usually not done in the middle or end, but it's mostly just to get their uber out, maybe get some damage on the gun, and then back up. Your job in this scenario is to either know that you're taking an uber or know that you're not taking an uber. If you're not taking an uber, I'd rather you playing like this, just being away, being out of the uber, but still being in a position where if people are walking into your combo and your combo's running away, you could shoot them, you can help them leave, and it's really beneficial for your team if you do that. The other thing that you can try doing, throwing a sandwich and just helping your team live that way. It's really good. Just keep that idea in mind. Just throwing sandwiches whenever you can and using health packs to get it back, or you just wait for it to come back. But either way. If you're not part of the Uber, you sit over here. Be flexible. Don't be static. And if you are part of this Uber, what I want you to do is I want you to peek this angle right here, watch for anybody in this angle, and try to get over to this corner as soon as possible. Or, if your combo knows that they're going to use as soon as you guys use, you could just hide here a little bit, not even walking forward, just kind of waiting for people to jump into you, namely a pyro. Pyros really fuck you up because all they need to do in this angle, if you're playing aggressive, 1 air blast, 2 air blast, 3 air blast, and you're off the cliff waiting for a spawn timer. I don't want you to do that. If the pyro's dead, that's when you can start playing aggressive, and you can utilize the space that you make and all that sort of fancy stuff. But the main idea is if the pyro's not dead and you're part of the Uber, you're watching out for people jumping down on you, and you're trying to get some damage onto the gun, maybe even killing the gun if you can, and then backing up, waiting for your team to regroup through main, and then your team is either going to go over main tunnel, or not over main tunnel, over hill, and trying to fight that way. Then you and your scout and your soldier will just play in tunnel, and then you guys can go into main tunnel, or you guys can go into side tunnels. But other teams like to do it differently. Other teams want you playing over hill with them, and that's where you go into Jenkins. Jenkins, I don't really like this spot all too much, but I'll just tell you how to play it. The main idea is that you have visibility over by this area, and you're just able to generally help your team by being in this forward position, where people can't really shoot you, but you can shoot them. And the main idea is also the same. If you want to peek aggressive, you play it wide. But if you're generally just trying to wait for your team to walk up, here's how you do it. Clear stickies, make sure that there's nothing in the bush, no teleporters, no nothing. Then, once that's done, you're spy checking, still spy checking, and you're just... This is assuming that you're also alone, by the way. If you're playing with your sniper, I don't really suggest it, but if you are, just try to keep him alive. If not, you're helping your team, your demo's walking over hill, your scout, your medic, your pyro. Cool. Now all of you guys need to do is just walk in at the same time. You see the line that the demo makes, and then instead of walking into it, just play back a little bit. Play back, see what's in front of you. Maybe there's a sniper, maybe there's people watching you over here, maybe there might even be a weirdo sitting on the roof. But I don't want you to play the angle super aggressively just yet. Just remember, play it wide. Alright? Once you get some sort of a sight line, that's when you can start making these decisions. And this is the end goal for people playing over hill. You get over by this shack, and remember, instead of playing it close, play it wide. That way you can see people who are walking into you. Some heavies will really want to play the angle like this, and I fucking hate that, because you can also do the exact same thing, and it's just terrible. Instead, you playing it wide helps your team. Like, I can see the minigun, I'm prepared for it, he's not, I'm just in it to win it, right? But the number one thing that I'm trying to look out for, where's my team, where's the combo, and is it the right time for me to push over hill? If you're pushing over hill, the main thing is that you want to make sure that if you do have even Ubers, you get out, or you're not even a part of this play before the Ubers are out. Don't be in when the Ubers are even. You want to stay out, you want to be 450, you want to wait for that post-fight. Once that post-fight happens, do everything that I said before, make sure that you claim shack, and try to use the angles to your advantage. Shoot the gun from this angle if you can. Shoot people over hill if you can. But the number one thing that I want you to take away from this, don't play static. It's easy for people to think, okay, I walk over hill, and I'm doing everything that I can, right? But there's nobody here, and they're all walking main tracks, and I feel kind of useless and in the sightline. Instead, what you can do, instead of pushing over hill, if your team's got it, you're kind of useless over here. Drop down and play cart instead. Unironically, that's kind of the best way that you can play hill. It's just ending up on cart and playing the objective while also having the head glitch available for you. As weird as it sounds. But yeah, that's just the general end game. You're able to get shack presence. Once that's done, you either play with your combo over hill and try to watch out for people bombing in, killing the gun, killing people who are aggressive, and being in a post fight and not an even Uber ad. Because if you're taking Uber away from your medic, more of your people over hill are going to die if they don't get flashed, and you are going to eat damage regardless, so guess where all the heals are going to be going into? Not your demo, they're going to be going into you, because you're in a very bad position. So, wait for a post fight, wait for a dry. That's when the spot becomes good. If it's even Ubers, if it's disad, it's never good. If it's ad, this can sometimes work, but I'd more so want you playing... I'd want you playing tunnel anyway. But this is just something that you can do differently. But yeah, aside from that, if they're trying to play into tracks, I'd much rather you meet them as opposed to you sitting in shutter, playing by their side. And I just want you to push up the cart. When you are pushing up the cart, watch out for spies, watch out for anybody jumping over by this angle, for example, and utilize the head glitch whenever you can. Another thing that you can do is instead of pushing cart, you get this angle as soon as possible, and then if people are walking into you, you're in a prime position to kind of just walk into them. If not, you're in a prime position if they're walking over hill to have another head glitch and kind of just salvaging wherever you can. But I don't really like this spot either because this does nothing unless they walk into you. It's a very passive spot. It doesn't force anything. You playing cart forces their presence. It forces their attention onto you. And sometimes that's the best thing that your team needs. Because remember, you're not after kills, you're after the objective. And if you're using your life, using your health properly, your team is going to capitalize off of every single situation that you're going to help them get. That's one of the few things that you can do on this map, and especially on second, just pushing the cart. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for hill. Now for main tunnel. Main tunnel is a little bit weird, but I just want it to... I want to go over it in a couple of parts. I want to go over it with sacks, and I want to go over it with dries and post fights. A post fight kind of looks like this. You're playing, you're watching over here, making sure that nobody's over by this angle. If they are, you kind of have to back up and try to play the angle as best as you can. But the main idea is very simple. You peek with your soldier. Your soldier bombs all the way onto the roof, or he bombs straight into the combo. Or he delays it, and you guys push cart together, or something along those lines. Maybe a scout and NG are also pushing cart with you. You could try pushing cart and doing the exact same thing that we talked about beforehand, but this is assuming that they're still playing up over here. What do you do about that? If nobody's paying attention to you, you play the head glitch. You kill the gun as best as possible, you have this head glitch, and you tell your team to walk in, or, this is the assumption, you're going at the same exact time that your team is going. And I want you to do that. Remember, play at the same exact time, on the same exact timing as your combo. Don't go before, don't go after. You might be able to go a little bit after, but I really want you going in at the exact same time. But just remember, also, if people are over here, like a soldier for example, you could just make the roundabout trip all the way over here anyway, because as long as a heavy's not sitting here, your game plan is fine. It's pretty much the exact same. You kill people over by dispenser, making your way over here. This is assuming the gun is dead. And yeah, you're just playing objective, but you're also playing in a forcible spot. You're playing to force mistakes on their part. Yes, that is also true. And if he is sitting over there, there could be a push inside tons. There could be a push over hill. But normally that heavy sitting over there is actually kind of not too well. Like, how do I describe this? Your heavy sitting over here, if they do end up sitting over here, it's really good to denying cart, but it also eats a lot of heals if you end up taking a lot of damage. So, a person who would be much better suited for this is soldier, because he can just splash, 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 splash. He can jump over a roof. He can do a lot more than you can. The most that I'd really want you to do, playing defense just as a snapshot, holding side tons, watching spy over by main, and then you either push over by the left side if they want to clear cart, and you do that by holding A instead of W, or if there's no sniper, you can push over hill, or you can push over hill. But this is also just a general thing that you can do. Instead of trying to make one angle go into another angle, try and switch it up. You can use this to walk this way and help your team win the fight. And remember, because you're smart, you play wide instead of playing close and then dying to the heavy who's by that corner. But that's just defense. We're talking about offense for right now. You should be aware of who's over hill. Yes, I do completely agree with that. You should be utilizing your spies comms a whole lot. But your team also needs your spies comms a whole lot more than you do, so most of the time, I just want you to listen and tell your demo that you're in position in main tons, or side tons, or over hill, getting ready to go into going into a fight. And this is just the main way that you'd have to do it. This is for a post-fight and a dry fight, but for a sack, it's pretty much the exact same. You just, instead of trying to worry about this angle, I want you to not care and try to go here as quickly as possible while your soldier bombs over a roof. That's the essential play that you want to do playing in main tunnel for a sack. If not, you could try getting space inside and trying to go for a sack that way. And even still, I think that side tons, when I did review this at first, it did kind of polarize. It was a little bit of a polarizing spot for me. I didn't know how to play it. But I've realized now that side tons is equally as valuable if you can get it. Here's how you do it. 450 in tunnel. And your main goal is to catch out this soldier. This is where you and your spy kind of just talk with one another. You say, hey, is he close? Yes, I can stab. Cool, we're peeking. And then you peek him. And the main idea is that if the soldier is playing from this area over to this area, he's dead. If he's playing over here to over here, he's not going to die simply because you're shooting at him. You need much more than that. You need some sort of advantage. That's where your spy comes in. That's where your soldier comes in. That's where all of you guys shooting and stabbing him at the exact same time for him to die. And that's when you can go ahead and trying to do your advantage or your push. What you're going to do is, again, playing it wide because you're not stupid, but also watching out for spy. And your soldier has the important job of bombing in all the way through to their combo. At the same time, your combo's pushing in main, your combo's pushing over hill. It's just a really nice thing for you to try to do. So please, please, please be aware of that. And also, instead of trying to run past shutter and trying to play over here, for example, which can lead to a whole lot of mess, the only thing that you can really do if you're playing aggressive like this is to hold the shutter. There's not much I can really say. You just prevent people from walking in, and as soon as you're done waiting, you can walk in a little bit. You might even be able to catch out people leaving over here, which is really nice. But the most important part is that you're watching out for a sniper in spawn, the gun in spawn, spies in the corners, and you're just able to play a more aggressive fight once you have that information. But the general idea for side tons is that it enables your soldier much more than you can. The only thing that you should be able to do is shoot people from afar, and if your combo's pushing over hill, you're able to pinch anybody playing over here. Or if your combo's playing in main, I don't really know. I'd much rather you play main with your combo, if that's the case. Like, a demo and you pushing main together is really, really powerful. He's going to be shooting over the hill, you're going to be pushing into that head glitch, and if the heavy's not sitting here, and people are not going to try and deny you, it's really good. But, you know, people are going to try denying you, and that's when, you know, the rest of your combo comes in, they get a cap on time, or they get time on cap, they send people over hill like a soldier, maybe a sniper. It just becomes a fight, right? And throughout all of these three angles, the most important part is that you're staying at 450. You're not taking damage so much so that you have to eat. You're playing positions properly. You have proper timing. And you're very communicative with your spy and with your combo, knowing when they're going in and knowing when you should be going in. That's all I really got to say for offense. Do you guys have any questions? I'm going to take that as a no. So, yeah, let's get on to defense. Oh, yeah, what's up? Okay. Yeah, what's up? I think that it should depend more on what you and your soldier want to do, as opposed to what the enemy heavier soldier tries to do. You should be holding side tons when your soldier's holding main. You should be holding main if your soldier's holding side tons. Remember, do not play static. You want to play dynamic. So, instead of sitting in one spot for the entire game, see which situation calls for which side, and, you know, watch it. If your combo needs help over by main, you might have to play main a little bit, even if that means people are going to be able to peek at you from side tons. Or if your soldier's holding side tons, this becomes your opportunity, and then because the soldier holds this better than you can, and you hold side tunnel better than the soldier can, that's when you guys swap when he's alive. But if he's dead, it might have to be a judgment call, but you either have to sit over here, or you have to continue sitting in shutter holding side tons hoping that people walk into you. I think that it's mostly dependent on where they're trying to walk, and again, that's more or less something that you can get from your spy, from your scout if he's playing aggressive in main tons. You just want to call on where their heavy and soldier are at. That is preferable, but that's not always going to happen. So, go off of your positioning before you go off of calls. Once that's done, you can ask for where the heavy and soldier are. If they go side tons, you guys have a much better time dealing with them because you know they're going to be coming. And even still, this spot is mainly just to deny side tons. It's really hard for people to push into you if you know what you're doing, because you have a pack that you can get over here, you have the spawn, and the most that people can really do is kind of send a spy to try and kill you. But usually you should just be able to spy check for your team. And if there's an Uber going over hill, you can still peek this a little bit, but I suggest you play the post fight maybe over here if the sniper's not dead, over here if the sniper's dead, and just being mindful of side tons all the way through, because again, you're watching it, but you're also playing aggressive, so you're losing more of that influence over here. So yeah, that's generally the way that you gotta play this map on second defense. You want to kind of rotate to where your soldier's not at. You rotate over to side tons because you're better at holding that, but if your soldier dies, maybe you have to rotate over here, maybe you could stay this angle. I suggest that you just see for yourself, but more or less what I've experienced, if my soldier dies, I'm playing over here. I know how to play over here, so let me show you how to do so as well. My biggest strength on this map going from like Season 17 onwards has always just been this little bit hold. I know how to play the angle, and the angle is very simple. This crack is your best friend. You shoot between it, and you mostly want to shoot at the scout, at the engineer, and you have a much better time dealing with this heavy over here as well. If he walks into you trying to aim for the fight, you have a much better time dealing with him. But again, don't stand on this rock, otherwise he'll just be able to shoot at you before you even have a chance at looking at him. That's where other things happen as well. If you're watching this angle, you're not really paying attention to anybody pushing over hill, so maybe people might be able to shoot you as well. That's why playing the angle wide and trying to take fights wherever you can is important, because if you're playing like this all the time, guess who's going to start trying to go after you? There's sniper, maybe a scout, maybe even a demo or somebody jumping over the roof, which gets really annoying for heavy, because if somebody's on the roof, then it's just very exploitable. It's very exploitable. All of this just to deal damage to you. But dealing damage to you is kind of what they want to do, because you're either forced to eat or you're forced to take heals away from your medic. That's the big disadvantage with playing this spot. It seems really good on paper, and in theory, yes, you can get a lot of time off of it, and in practice, I've gotten a lot of time off of it too. But that was in advanced. I'm playing invite now, and now I'm seeing the difficulty with making this spot work consistently. That's why I say playing dynamic is much better, because sure, this might be good for like 20 seconds, but as soon as they realize, oh yeah, the heavy's over hill, we can exploit that. They're going to send more people into tunnel, and if you're playing aggressive, you might die because of that. They might send people more over hill so that they shoot people, or that they shoot your teammates over the roof, or maybe the soldier's on the roof and he shoots over the roof, and you guys all eat splash because you're bigger, and you have a much bigger hitbox, and the splash just hits everybody at the same exact time. There's a lot of things that they can do to kind of kill you at the spot. So only really use this if your soldier's dead and you're comfortable just kind of holding side and holding main at the same time. Most of the time you're gonna be holding against a scout and an engineer trying to play forward. When they are starting to push, that's when you need to be careful. If it's an Uber exchange, don't even bother. Play inside, or play in the shutter. I'd much rather you not play over here and not take a flash and wait for you to get 450 and play a post fight than you eating a flash, you possibly just dealing no damage to their demo and being in a worse position because your aggression turns into their aggression and you're not watching the angle at the same time that you're walking back. So please realize that this spot can be very exploitative towards you, but there's also a lot of advantage to be had if you know how to play the angle right. But the more important thing is, once your soldier's alive, you make sure that he's watching side tons, or you guys have enough time for you to switch over so you can make this roundabout trip and get more time on this map. And remember, when you are playing in Shutter and it's a post fight, or maybe a dry fight gone wrong on their end, you make sure that you know where they're trying to push from, and if they're pushing from main, for example, you might have the liberty of just being able to see if people are walking into you, and then you can try fighting them like that. Maybe they're stuck all the way over there and you can play a little bit more aggressive while also watching for people inside, watching for people over and spy. There's just a lot of things that you can do from this shutter. But one of the things that you can't do is play aggressive unless you know where people are at. Because if you peek the angle like this, boom, you're dead to a sniper. Boom, you're getting shot by a demo. All of this while your team is hiding over here because they're not responsible for you making this mistake. They're trying to look after themselves. They're trying to make sure that they're holding cart, but they're also making sure that there's nobody hill. That's why I want you playing over here, for example, if the sniper's not dead. If he is dead or he's backed up all the way, maybe you can use this opportunity to do something like this, where you kind of quickly go through the shutter. And this is actually something that I've been thinking about. Maybe it even might be better for you to, instead of being fully revved up, you kind of just jump rev into the position over here. But you also want to just stay revved over here maybe, so... I don't know, I've been thinking about this recently after a review with another heavy on product. And it's just every sort of position that you can get is dependent on if you're, there in the first place, but also how quickly you get there. You staying revved the entire time is great on paper because it's a fundamental heavy... No, it's fundamental for heavy to be fully revved. But if nobody's walking into you, then this becomes sort of the idea because you're prepared for people bombing in, watching side, and you're basically still aggressive, but you're not eating the same damage that you would be if you're walking fully revved. That's something I'm going to need to experiment more, and it is an idea that I do want to kind of master, because that is going to be one of the final things that I really learn on this class. But yeah, if you are playing over here, just play it wide, be fully revved. If you are peeking from shutter and the sniper's not dead, maybe you have to do this. If not, if he is dead, that's when you can start peeking slow. And yeah, like I said before, the general idea is that you're holding side tons. Don't let them get space. Be mindful if they're bombing over, and you should be calling that out for your team. The other idea is that you play over here, and you kind of just, if the sniper's dead, you could peek over this way, but then it's more susceptible to people in side tons. And that's not even going over main, but we've already discussed main beforehand, because if they're all pushing and you're able to walk over here, it's really good. And remember, you hold A instead of W, because if you're holding W, you don't get there as quickly as if you're holding A. But yeah, just generally speaking, it's just a matter of perspective, and it's just a matter of where your soldier and where you want to play. You shouldn't be aggressive all the time, but you should be mindful of cart. If your combo's playing main tracks, it might just be better for you to play main tracks with them, or to play this angle, or for you to get out and go third. Any questions on second? Because I took a long while to talk about this, but it's also one of the most intricate points in the game, in my opinion. I'd say so, yeah. Mostly because people don't know how to deal with it. However, I don't want to teach what's going to work in lower divs. I want to teach what's going to work in general. You know what I mean? Like, against better players. I don't want it to be, oh, in this case scenario, against this low-level team in main, at this point in RGL, in North America, it's going to work 100% of the time. I don't want to do that. I want to be like, hey, this is just what I've seen. This is what works out best for me. And this is just the strengths and disadvantages of playing in these spots. Because you do have to be careful, because again, teams will play around you. This is the point in time when people will start to realize that you're playing in certain spots and try to play around that. If you're playing aggressive, that's just more of an opportunity for you to get cucked over. But sometimes it might be beneficial for you to play these spots. It's not set in stone. Nothing is set in stone. The only thing that's set in stone is what the meta dictates right now. And the meta is ever changing. I remember when I was trying to make this meta, playing over by Shaq, but I've realized playing with teams better than me, I have to play meta. I can't change it up all the time. The only time when I can change it up is when the team's better than me and I have to do something weird to get an advantage, to get time. So, I won't teach you any of that. I just want to teach fundamental stuff. And then if you guys want to go into that weird stuff after you have an understanding of those fundamental things, we can go into that, because on second, you can play really, really aggressive. You can play super stupidly aggressive. But I don't want to teach that. Or reintroduce that, I guess I should say. Yeah, we will not be talking about that roof, because that roof is the low tier trap. If you do that, that's kind of just terrible. Anyway, so let's talk about third offense, because this is where it gets really, really spicy. Third offense, right? You're just playing in main, watching for stick traps up here. And your main goal when you're playing in third is to kind of just be in a different angle from where your combo's trying to be at. If your combo's playing flank, you're playing over here by main. If your combo's main, it may be in your benefit to go flank, but usually I'd say just keep on playing main. The idea with this is that your combo is playing flank, they're helping your sniper get a shot over hill, or they're getting ready to take an Uber through ladders, Uber through main. Your main goal then is to kind of just be there waiting for people to walk into you, or being in a position where you can call out where people are at. This is one of the few spots where Heavy can really benefit from peeking at an off time, but you also have to be careful because peeking at off times leads to you taking damage and you being out of the fight for a couple of seconds. So, be careful, and this is the way that I want you to do it. Remember, cart is by this bend. That's when you can start doing this. If the cart is not around this bend, or your team is not helping you get this cart around the bend, get it here first, then do the game plan. The game plan is simple. You play wide, you watch for spy, and if your people are over by cart helping you out, they're either on the cart or they're just watching out for you as well. But the idea is this. Look for people in ladders. I want you to just take a note of this spot in particular, because you can see if a heavy's peeking into ladders or if heavy's getting into ladders. You can see if people are walking over by the pack. It's really nice, but here's what I want you to do. If there's nobody, keep looking, nobody keep looking, nobody keep looking, nobody keep looking, and if there's somebody, you hold the angle where you just peeked, you shoot them a little bit, back up a little bit, nobody, 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 somebody, start dealing with them, nobody, nobody, time to get pressure on cart when my team is ready to push, and I'm on the same wavelength as they are. I don't want you to peek willy-nilly, and I don't want you to peek as soon as all of these things are done, because people will show up and kind of throw it all away. What I want you to do is, when you have this clear sight, you tell your team that you're ready to push and that they're playing passive. Your team can then help you out, you can help them out, and maybe you can just, be a bit of a thorn in their side. But that's the main idea with main. You don't want to be aggressive, not yet anyway. You just want to be in a position where you can help your team get cap time. You want to help them be aggressive, but you also just want to make sure that you're not taking unnecessary damage. And you know where people are at. If a heavy's playing by ladders, that's a really important call. And you need to call heavies by ladders. And you guys need to play around that. Because a heavy by ladders can get easily killed or easily splashed away if teams know what they're doing. But, assuming that the team is playing in the back over here, that's the best way to do it. If they are playing aggressive deep into you, that's when you should consider playing in flank. But even still, I'd much rather you go main and try to force them away from this area with your team, as opposed to you guys fucking off while they're still playing main. If they are playing aggressive in main, that's when your job becomes sticking in main while your combo goes main and dealing with the people in front of you. That's what I'd want you to do. And everything that I've talked about beforehand gets amplified because you're playing with your team. You have much more of a precedence of keeping your crit heals, and I do not want you dying to sniper. Please do not die to sniper. Ever, alright? But, this is different from what I've talked about beforehand. Why aren't we talking about flank? Okay, let's talk about it. Flank is very simple. You can look through the window over here to see if anybody's playing aggressive, and I'd much rather you do this than playing in main. But main is a much more aggressive spot, and you're able to do things immediately. This takes time, and that changes things, because if you're seeing this, but people are there another second, that's a comm that needs to be said that you just weren't there for. So, don't utilize this in any other way other than you walking flank and being prepared to walk flank. If you see that nobody's aggressive, you go over here, playing in lockers, and you sit by this corner over here, because if any spy gets in, you're able to deal with them. If anybody bombs over, you're dealing with them. And they can't sit up here. Here's a nice little trick, actually. The platform, or not the platform, the wall over here has a wind box. So you can end up skipping sandwiches. See that? Silly. But yeah. The general idea with flank is that you get people in positions to do whatever they can. For demo, it's going to be playing closer towards main, getting ready for a push. For sniper, it's going to be playing over here, getting ready for a peek. And your job is to kind of support all of them all at the same time, or just sticking to one person and helping them out. If you're playing with a sniper, you're playing wide, making sure that you're looking at ladders, people in white room, people on the flank. But you're not peeking so deep that you're able to kill them. Because again, sniper might be looking at you. If you want to try doing something aggressive, maybe you can peek the heavy over here. But I don't really suggest this, because it's just not your job to be playing flank at all. I don't want it to be a habit for you guys to walk flank when nothing's working. Alright? Because here's the thing. With flank, with how long you need to rotate over here, you'd be much better playing main because you're already in an immediate spot where you can do something. But in flank, if people know you're in flank, they're just going to walk into you. That's when they start playing aggressive into main. Alright? That's when they're kind of just allowing you guys to get space into here. That way, if you do end up sticking here for a little bit, they're going to walk at you with everything they have. They're going to send flank players. They're going to send combos straight from main into you. They're going to send heavy into ladders. There's going to be a whole lot all at once. And if you guys try leaving through lockers, guess where they're going to be meeting you? In Burger, because they have that immediate spot walking into you to catch you out. You playing heavy, you cannot run away. And you playing in this spot anyway is kind of just useless up until you start playing aggressive around ladders, for example. Or around flank if you can get there. It's much better for you to just sit main, get immediate pressure, immediate sightlines, and more importantly, visuals on where they're trying to go, as opposed to you hoping that people are going to walk into you in flank, or you're able to get something into flank. With that being said, if you are playing in this spot, one thing that you can really do is off timing, just getting a 450, saying, just kind of like looking into here, kind of getting information. But again, this is just a worse way of you getting information. And they can see you and what you're doing from this window over here. But if you know the heavy's playing ladders, then you can just peek him, and it's much better for you to kill him than anyone else because it's an even trade. You get a better spawn. The heavy has to rotate all the way through white room just to get that spot again. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because maybe it's an even Uber, right? Maybe he needs to play away from combo when that happens. Maybe he needs to walk in for a post fight with 450 and not take a lick of damage or people knowing that he's not there. But for offense, what you're mainly prioritizing is objective time. So, finally, let's talk about playing aggressive. Once you're done checking if everybody is not in the angle, that's when you can go ahead and start playing cart. Or, if you're with your team and you're playing aggressive, maybe they don't have space, maybe they all die on second, you can play aggressive over here. This is only if the cart is not up, by the way. If the cart is up, I'd much rather you just play this angle. Because this angle is surprisingly not too good if people know you're around. If people don't know you're around, then it's, you know, it's fine. But you end up getting the same exact thing with a better angle if you just play cart and sit by it the entire time. You playing the wall allows them to kind of just jump onto you with everything they have. Not just the heavy. The heavy should not be sitting over here. That's not his job anymore. The heavy would be a much better, have a much better time pushing the angle like this, for example, but you also deal with that better if you play the angle like this. So why is it bad? It's because demos can spam over you if you play this way too aggressive. Pyros can air blast you back. You having that cushion of space between you and the enemy is so important that I'd much rather you play it if the cart is available. If the cart's not available, fuck it. You're with your team. You could play the angle like this anyhow. But you don't walk in aggressive unless you know that their sniper's dead or unless you know that they all backed up. Because, hey, again, just one more thing. Peek, peek, peek. Nobody. Check this angle for anybody in the spawn. And if somebody, like a sniper, is in the spawn, you just cannot peek this. You can only peek the people in main. That's the only thing that you can do. If you try peeking, you die, and it's just terrible. So, the main idea that I want you guys to do is if you have the space, your combo walks and helps you out with main after they're done with flank. If an Uber happens at all, at any point, I do not want you being a part of it. I want you to keep your 450. That's when you go in hell, being prepared for an immediate post fight. And once that happens, Then you can start peeking and doing the exact same thing that we talked about beforehand. And that's when you can start putting yourself on cart, telling your team to help you out. Those are the situations where I really want you to be a part of. Alright? Don't do anything stupid. I just want you to play as good as you can, as aggressively as you can, but within reason. Alright? Any questions for third? Because that was a little bit of a long-winded speech for one play. Alright, sweet. There is one more thing I want to tell you, and it's not actually too bad of an idea. The only problem is that there's so many checkpoints that you have to go through that it's kind of not really good. Because if you want to push hell, this peeking this is a checkpoint, you jumping over here is a checkpoint, you jumping over here is a checkpoint, and you being over here is a checkpoint. Once you pass all of these and nobody looks at you, you can tell your team, hey, I'm in hell, I'm ready to peek at them. And then boom, you're just in, you're dealing damage, and you just get what you can get. But people are smart, right? They're going to start playing over here, for example. They're not going to start playing over by, you know, how do I put this? People are going to play in response to you being in hell. You do this as like an off-time play. You don't do this normally. You don't make it a normal push. You do this if you want to do something funny, or if you want to do something different. But main such an important hold and push anyway, I'd much rather you do that 99% of the time. I never really go hell. The only times when I go hell is if I want to test the waters to see what I can get away with against certain teams that I know I'm better than. It does not really work against higher level teams, and if it does, they didn't do their job, and you were able to capitalize off of their mistake. But at the same time, just be aware, alright? Because it takes one person checking this angle to see this heavy, and then it's just immediately hell. So please be mindful when you are going hell. Do this as a play, not as a push. Alright? Because now we're done with third offense, now we're going to talk about third defense. And third defense is pretty simple. Your main goal is for you to get this head glitch over by ladders. Right? That's the main goal. You do this when your team is playing aggressive. It becomes really good for you to try and peek into ladders if you want to play a bit more aggressive. Or, what I suggest you really do, focus your attention on flank with your flank players. If you have a good scout, good soldier, and you guys are good at communicating, please utilize this space. So much space is given to you, and people just kind of let it be given to the other team. If they aren't in that space, I'm not saying take it and hold it. I'm saying take it and be aware of it. Wait for people to walk into you. Wait for a soldier to call you in. Because when that soldier tells you to walk in and you kill that soldier, and then maybe you even kill a sniper because of it, and then drop back down to get the head glitch and an arrow from your medic, it feels so good. It's such an oppressive play. You just being behind them when they least expect it. But all of it is just based around the fact that you, your soldier, and scout are playing together, capitalizing off of something that they are not expecting. If they all start pushing flank, and it's called, you still might be able to peek into them, sure. You might even be able to get a couple of stray picks if they're all going in one at a time. But that's when you start taking it a bit slower. That's when you start playing the head glitch. Oh, okay, see you, Matt. Sorry the review is a little bit longer than anticipated, but yeah. Just being in this area when this happens, right? It's important if a team is trying to push into you. And remember, you could still peek into them. It's still possible for you to stay revved and walk into them. But you just got to be aware that snipers are going to start peeking over here. Soldiers are just going to be... Don't be weird. People are going to start walking into you. People are going to start doing whatever they can to kind of get an advantage. This becomes a little bit volatile. So, if you feel like you can't take the pressure, Fist of Steel, go all the way into the back of White Room if you can, or play this rock so you can play a little bit more aggressive, but I only really suggest this during a post fight because you doing this while they're pushing the cart is so good. It's so good. But let's just talk about this a whole lot more. Ladders, in conjunction with playing White Room, playing flank, and pushing a main. When do these situations happen? If your team is aggressive, you play the head glitch, and you play deeper into flank, being ready to capitalize with you and your scout and soldier, the people who are walking in. This can also be in conjunction with your team playing aggressive, and they can also walk in with you from a different angle. And of course, if you are playing aggressive, that's when you can start playing this jump over here. You can start catching people off guard because you're just shooting at them after you jump on this rock. It's really, really funny. But it also works out way more than people expect. Because you're just not... People aren't imagining a heavy playing this spot. And if they are, they're weird. And then you're dead because they're just thinking about that. But I don't know. The only thing that I do know is that if you are playing aggressive, you have to be aware of playing way too aggressive or playing not aggressive enough. If your team is starting to back up, if it's evening Uber, you know, if all of these situations culminate together, I do not want you being in this spot, because if they start walking into you, if they start putting attention onto you with an Uber, you're outpositioned, and it's bad. So, when the time is right, when it's Uber, when it's evens, I'd much rather you play White Room, watching flank like this, just making sure nobody's getting all the way through, like a soldier, like a scout, maybe even a spy if you can get it. Other times too, you might be able to watch out for a spy over by this angle. Just being aware, just spy checking a little bit, not doing too much, just checking all around. But when that post-fight happens, I want you to get off, and I either want you to peek over by main to kill people on the cart if they all are on cart, or I want you peeking in flank with somebody, anyone, please, not alone, just with anyone. If you want to kill people on flank, and then focusing your attention into main. Both of these have their place, but both of these also are important because you still watch the angles that you need to be aware of, right? You still watch hell, you still watch flank, but it allows you to walk up with your team. If your team is playing passive, you play main, it's so good, and then you walk back into the head glitch over by flank, by ladders, and you do the whole process over and over again. This is why it's important for you to keep your life. This is why it's important for you to track Ubers. If it's 80% on both sides, you need to start thinking about these things. Because if they start pushing into you, and you're not prepared, you're dead, and your team does not have a heavy for a good 20 seconds. You play your life, you're playing when the post-fight happens immediately, you're able to help your team by getting visuals on the other people, and you're just able to put yourself in a position where it's much better for you to get something done, instead of you hoping that something happens in your favor. You force mistakes. You don't capitalize off of them. Not yet. You force mistakes and then capitalize off of them. Remember, I don't want you to just capitalize off of mistakes all the time. That's no good way to learn. So, do what you need to do, but just keep that in mind. Any questions for defense? Because that is pretty much it. But there is one more thing that I want to tell you. Because, yeah, alright, you don't have any more questions, cool. So, if you end up dying before an Uber happens, or as an Uber is about to happen, Fist of Steel, get to White Room as quickly as possible. Then, you start doing your game plan, you're just over here, you're walking, and then you get the spot over by Rock, you're watching over here, you can try playing main a little bit, you can even peek all the way over here if you wanted to, but this is less aggressive, more suited to flank if you want to hold that with somebody. But yeah, just also make sure that you have attention of people who's on flank with you. If people are not on flank, it might be better for you to push main. If people are on flank, it might be better for you to push flank. Nothing's a guarantee, and nothing's going to be immediately seen as perfect. And hindsight is 20/20, because yeah, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna take a lot for you to just see the right situation. But these are the decisions that you need to make mid-game. And sometimes the safest option is not the correct option. So do what you can, but that's pretty much it for third. Any questions about this at all? No? Alright, sweet. So, offense is a little bit weird on fourth. I will describe every single angle where you need to push. Before you push, get a 450, and if you want to play the immediate push, you play main. You watch for sticks and you watch for people in red room, people jump over, you delay it a second, and remember, instead of playing close, you play it wide. You kill the gun, because the gun won't be able to see you. If it does, you're playing way too close. But you kill the gun, you get cart time, and if your team's all pushing in with you and they're all dead, you get to this corner as soon as possible. This is a win condition. Then, once you're over here, you peek spawn, and remember what we said for third? Peek, nobody, nobody, nobody. Somebody's over here now. Be with them. Nobody, 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 nobody. Start dealing with the people over by the left side. If they start going flank, the best thing that you can do is hold the angle right here, and be aware that if people are on flank, they will start jumping over here to start killing you. That's just the general game plan for this win condition, because that's one of the few that Heavy can really maintain if his team allows him the space. But normally, the only thing that you can do in this spot is kill the gun, watch out for people in red room, back up, and start posting over by red room, pretty much. The main way that I want you to hold this in the beginning is just playing all the way back over here, so you're not taking way too much damage. You have a dispenser, you have people to support, yeah, you're spy checking as well. You're just being supportive. You're not really playing in. You get 450s, and then you can choose one of two angles to push from. One of three angles technically, but we'll talk about red room first. Red room is pretty simple. You look over here when nobody's peeking you, by the way. You just check the corners, and you get over here as quickly as possible. Once you're over here, if people start walking into you, and they're not expecting you, you can deal with them rather easily. But just be aware, that's them making that mistake of walking through on an off time. Normally, heavies will not be playing, over here consistently unless, there's no pressure in main. Or there's no pressure in main, there's no pressure in big door. There's just nothing. If the heavy is sitting over there, that means your team is not really doing anything. But if you want to push flank, there's two ways that you do it. Both of them involve them playing passive. If you see them playing aggressive, you kind of have to back up and hope that they didn't see you. Because if they see you, even if they see you on the cross, if it's a demo, he's going to know you're there, he's going to start shooting you. If it's anybody else, they're going to be prepared and they're going to start looking at you. Red room is such a volatile place for you to push. It is only really successful if your team already has an angle to successfully push from. And if you are pushing red room, I suggest that you do it with a soldier. I suggest that you do it with somebody. If it's with a demo, you and your demo are going to take an Uber. Alright, fine. I'm in. I'm killing the gun. I get air blasted. Uh-oh, I'm all the way in main, for example, where I get pushed all the way back into red room. I still get the gun. Maybe I drop down, wait for a post fight. That's all you can really do. And then you can put yourself on cart and try to push it, but I don't know. I guess I just don't want you playing way too passive, and red room kind of facilitates that way too much. It kind of forces you to play passive. It kind of forces you to wait for your team to get something done. And I don't like that. Yeah, so if you want to push red room, the way that you do it is you just hold the angle like this, and once you see that nobody's over here, that's when you start playing close. Once you start playing close, that's when you can go ahead, wait for people to walk into you, and if they do start walking into you, you deal with them first, and then you start dealing with everything else later. You want to make sure that people are in your line of sight, but you also want to make sure not to be seen. This is only really successful if nobody's holding flank and nobody knows how to look at people in red room from flank. Which, sure, it might not be a priority for people now, but if you want to play against people who are better, that's what you're going to have to look out for. That's why red room as a push, I fucking hate it. Because all a heavy needs to do, he can play in that spot right there, and he can see you, and then your game plan is shot. The only thing that you can really do to salvage this is if your team is playing into, big door main, for example. You kind of have to drop down, play cart, and kind of go for the same idea that we talked about beforehand. But if teams will allow you space in red room, and you're able to hide yourself, and you're able to just be in a position to catch out, I don't know, maybe a demo, maybe you catch somebody out like a sniper, that's when it starts becoming good. But that doesn't really feel like a good game plan, It just feels like that's something that other people should be avoiding. You being a red room is, really good if your demo already has an angle to push from. And it's honestly a pretty nice place if you just die and your team has space on cart. This is not too bad of a place for you to go because it leads directly into you getting the corner by Red Room. Or not by Red Room, but just this WinCon corner. But let's talk about something else. Because main, Red Room, it can work. It can absolutely work, but it doesn't often work. So, if you know that people are going to be playing in flank or playing in Red Room, for example, you, your scout, and your soldier get 450, you drop down all the way over here without taking fall damage, and maybe you rev over here. But you want to start taking this fight with you, your soldier, and your scout. And the idea is, if you get flank and you have something controlled, the win condition, you also kill the gun right over here. But the win condition is not this corner. Do not sit in this corner unless people are walking at you from this angle. No. Instead, you kill the gun, nobody's able to stop you. This is the win condition because you want to know where it leads directly to? The corner.
Right to the corner.
Yep.
The head glitch also there, right?
There is technically a head glitch, but it only is really effective over here. The only thing that you can do is jump up and try to get this. But yeah, it's not really. I meant more so the one next to tracks. Next to tracks? Like this one.
Yeah, on the left side.
Right,
no,
but
like right by the.
Like right. Oh yeah, well yeah. There's a head glitch right by there.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Sorry, I was confused for a second. I'm like, there's a head glitch?
No,
are you talking about like this?
I just got here. I'm literally in the car right now. I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck you guys are talking.
Oh no, you're good. We're almost done with this review, but I'm glad you were able to come up.
That's fine.
Yeah, but generally speaking, your main attention in flank is for you to get this spot right here, and when your team is able to push, that's when you drop down. Or let's just say, for example, they're going to take an Uber exchange, right? Because this happens sometimes. You guys get flank, an Uber exchange happens. What do? The one thing that I don't want you to do is to, I don't want you to peek and take damage. Please do not do that during an Uber. Do not be a focus. If you need to, back all the way up. Then, once you're ready, once your team is ready for a post fight, that's when you can start peeking the gun a bit wide right here. That's when you can start playing more aggressive in here, for example, killing people who are on the cart playing aggressive as well. These are the judgment calls that you need to make. Because there's no real good spot for you to hide if they all start walking at you. You have to be prepared if they go for an Uber exchange. And if you're not prepared, you're dead, and the push becomes null and void. Unless your team salvages it, in which case you just walk in and you clean up whatever you can. The other thing that you can do on flank is if you have the space and it's a dry or a post fight, right? You can go over here. But I don't really suggest it because even though you have this angle, right? This is much better for a soldier or scout to do. I'd much rather you go into the corner like we talked about after you finish playing this spot. This is where I want you to go. Because there's not really too many things that you can do on flank. Like, sure, you can head glitch over here. But, like, if you're dealing with people over here, sure, that's one thing. But if nobody's over here, just get the corner. You know? And this is kind of just a bad spot for you to play from anyway. Because people will just be able to shoot at you, and the only people that you're able to deal full damage to is people on cart. Don't take unnecessary damage. Go over here, play the angle like you're supposed to. And there is one final thing. It's the big door push. And I haven't really seen this done by a whole lot of people. And I'm only suggesting it as something that you can do if you don't know... If you just want to do something different, I guess you can call it. It depends on team. But the idea is that you push in main, get cart time, and you ultimately get sort of the same exact thing that you do end up getting in the corner over here, but in a more direct way. My biggest fear with this spot, you're jumping in without knowing who's directly in front of you. You don't know if the gun is there. You don't know if sniper's peeking you. You don't know if the demo's close. You don't know if anybody's close for that matter. This is very dependent on a couple of things, but the most important part, people just being it. If your spy's calling, oh yeah. Sorry. If the spy is calling like the demo's all the way back in spawn, but the sniper's peeking big door, guess who he's going to shoot? He's going to shoot you. And if you're playing like Red Room, for example, you're much less of a target unless you start peeking him. If you're playing flank, you're not even a target at all unless he gets a weird angle onto you. But playing in main, playing in big door, they kind of have that same problem of if you can get there, doesn't mean it's always the best because people will be able to shoot you. You're playing directly in their line of sight. Which is why I'm emphasizing like Red Room, for example, or flank. And if you are playing these angles, you play it wide. You play it so far away that the gun can't shoot you. You play it so far away that you're sitting on cart using this head glitch to your advantage. Spy checking, of course. But you're just playing in a way where you're kind of baiting them into you. And you're getting cart time all the way up. That's the main idea with big door. And remember, all of these pushes that we talked about beforehand, again, 450, do not take unnecessary damage. Walk with your team. If you're walking after your team is walking in, sure, fine. It's somewhat fine, but walking before, don't do that. And your main goal is to try and time it so that you walk in with your team at the same exact time. Fourth can be really hard to push. And sometimes it's not your fault because people aren't in the right positions. But know that you are not useless. You are very important on this if you can put yourself in that position. If you can't, you do what you can, and you salvage what you can, but yeah, that's pretty much it for offense. Any questions? No? Alright, sweet. Now we can talk about the last and final and frankly just easier thing to do. Fourth, defense. I love this. It's so nice to just be able to hold forward. But let me tell you about it. You hold forward if they're all dead, if there's nobody walking into flank. And you play over by this corner, going towards the drop down, playing by Red Room like this. This is really good in the beginning, as soon as they, don't have any players and they're already done with the sack. If they're not done with the sack...
Close to the wall, or does it not matter?
I think that you should be trying to play up with your team. If your demo's all the way over by tracks, you should be holding Red Room with them. And the main idea is that you hold main, right? You watch out for people walking here. You don't necessarily, react to it. You just want to be in a position where you can kind of jump into them. But here's the other important thing.
So my demo is the one that's basically covering out wide.
Sorry, what?
Because I'm noticing, you're standing, right next to the wall, instead of, swinging out wide.
Pretty much, yeah. Your demo should be the one swinging out wide. He should be the one going in big door. Your main priority is people walking.
For not doing that. I was like, dude, what the fuck?
People, well, here's the other thing too. In this spot, you can look at people Red Room, and your main goal is to say, hey, can we just get a push in Red Room? You, your demo, and your soldier, you guys can all peek together. And remember what I said before, play it wide, because if you peek the angle like this, guess what happens? You die. Because you end up peeking an angle, the heavy knows you're here, if he's sitting in this corner, or if he's playing smart, he just sees you, deals damage to you, and then you're forced to back up. And he doesn't even need to walk into you. So that's why I'm saying, you play it wide. You get what you can get, and then you back up because you do not want to play forward in that. But, if you're allowed to do it, then do it. But don't do it excessively. Keep your spot, maintain it, up until it's 80% Uber. Once that 80% threshold is going through, and they're not going for another sack. If they're going for a sack, it'll be obvious. They're going to send a soldier and demo onto you guys, and that's when you have to go ahead try to play, maybe closer to spawn. Maybe you have to play this angle. I'd suggest just trying to play around this angle because big door is a really big issue. If you get shot, you're dead, and snipers really like to play there, so watch for the bomb like this. You have a much better time doing that. And you can also go into spawn, get a resup, and then come back out. If your team is still playing aggressive by that point, that's when you can go ahead and start playing aggressive with them. But, the main problem with this spot is that if you stay here for far too long, people will eventually start getting into flank. People will start going through big door. People will start going through main tracks, through Red Room, because you do not have the capability to hold forward forever. When that happens, this turns from a good spot into a bad spot. You have to sit in the corner over here just to live. You have to play this head glitch just to fight the heavy walking into you, which peaks big door. There's so many volatile things that can happen to you, all of which don't even include soldiers and demos still bombing into your combo and you now not being in a position to deal with them. However, this spot is just, if the sniper is dead, this spot honestly does become good again, because you're with your team, you can play aggressive, you're immediately in their face. But remember, you're not walking into them, they're walking into you, and they're looking for any opportunities they can get. So play smart. And don't guarantee that their sniper's going to die, because it very well might be the case that if you sit there and your sniper dies, that's game. So, when it's 80% Uber on both sides, or if it's disad, you do this immediately. If it's like evens, you do this at 80%. You walk all the way back into spawn. And your main goal from here on then is to sit flank with your soldier and scout, and I want you to be doing that on this crate right here. This crate is so important. Sorry, I need to cough again. My bad. Anyway. You're able to see everything happening from big door, from main, all the way to red room. Remember that angle that we talked about beforehand? Right here? Yeah, you can see people walking through there. You can preemptively be ready for anybody walking red room. But your main goal is holding flank. And if you're overwhelmed on flank, do not feel afraid to drop down. You might be tempted to play this angle, but this only really works against people who are not walking in at the same time. So be careful. But if you see like a sticky flying through, maybe you can play the angle like this, just being mindful of main. If the sniper's called main, you kind of have to stick it. You kind of have to stick it, hope your demo helps you out, and then back up if you need to. Then if you back up, the only thing that you can really do is kind of play the angle like this and wait for an opportunity to get back in. But that's not the important part. The important part is what happens during an even Uber exchange. You will be shot at, and if you are, you might need to back up a little bit. But if the demo's smart, he's not going to focus you at all. He's going to focus your combo, your gun, and kill everybody besides you, because if you're just playing alone, you're dead. So, if you don't want to become a target, don't peek preemptively. You're playing behind the wall. If the demo's using his time to shoot stickies at you with the Uber, it's kind of terrible. Because again, you have the spawn. You can back up, resupply, and then fight it with your flank. Or if they don't even have space at all, you can even fight it from the right side. But I don't suggest you do that unless it's like a desperation play and you need to get something done. Instead, I want you to be reserve. If people are all walking in at the same time, maybe you might be able to hold flank a little bit, right? But then your goal becomes, I'm waiting for my team's ready to push, and then I'm ready to push as well. I deal with people in the corner like this. I'm able to be a very aggressive person while not holding W at all. And I'm still watching flank, I'm still watching for spy, and I'm finally able, once everything is done, to look at the cart time. If the cart is not pushed up all the way over here, if it's not, if it's like right over here, getting ready to be capped, you sit on it. You watch for spot. Here's what I want you to do. When this happens, when you're sitting on cart, something clicks in your brain and it makes it easier for you to pick out spy time. So once that happens, I want you to start spraying the cart, because that spy is going to use his time to try and get onto you, try to get cap time on the cart, and if you're able to catch him out before he decloaks, guess what? The cart starts rolling down much more consistently. But it doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that it'll start happening, because scouts will start jumping on it. People will start jumping on it. That's why when you are playing the cart, you're playing behind. You're waiting for something to happen, and you're watching for where their sniper is. If the sniper's playing over by big door, you sit your happy ass behind the cart like this. If he's playing main, you play over here and you watch for spy, you watch flank. There's not really that much that you can do, but you being there is the most important part. If nobody's on the cart, it gets capped. So, if the cart is all the way down here, past this point, where it's not teetering down, not falling down, that's when you start playing aggressive again. And that's the loop of flank. That's the loop of playing main. That's the loop, pretty much. Any questions? Alright, sweet. Just one more thing. If you do end up losing this, which, it will happen, and if you're not in the spots that we've already talked about, if you're not sitting in this corner, if you're just here for some reason, If you're not playing flank, or if you get forced out of flank, the only thing that I want you to do, try playing aggressive over here, try to get people, try to deal with people on cart, or if you're playing the right side, play over here, hope that a heavy's not in this corner, play over here if you know the heavy's in this corner. That's pretty much it. Any questions?
Sorry, real quick. You said play on flank when you can't really hold forward? Like,
Yeah, you should be playing flank if you can't hold forward. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, if a sniper dies, I want you going flank. There's no reason why you should be holding forward. Or there might be if your team is playing aggressive and you know you can hold forward against the team. But the fact that you lose a sniper theoretically can just have their sniper play anywhere that he wants to, and that can be really scary if you're just trying to play aggressive. So you playing passive, watching out for him, and your spy playing passive, watching out for him, is the best thing that you can do. Because once your sniper gets up, that's when you guys can start fighting them. That's when you can start fighting their aggression, because at that point, their demo, they're heavy, everybody's going to start wanting to do something. And also, just remember, keep an eye out for people in flank. If you see a scout and a soldier walking there at the exact same time, move your happy ass over to there. You'd be much better playing flank if people are there than if you were just holding main where nobody's going to be walking, right? Because let's just say you are playing aggressive and your demo and you are still playing aggressive together. What's stopping them from just walking into big door and just focusing you so much that you have to kite through red room and for you to have to play the window over here? That's not good. That's just what you can do in the moment. And you're far away from your team. You're not able to stop cart if it's pushed all the way up, and people are just going to be able to sit on it from both angles, not just the one that you're looking at. And yeah, you're just kind of useless in that spot. So, as a rule of thumb, if people are starting to, en masse, walk flank, you go there. Any questions? One thing.
Is it okay to... Oh, my bad.
One more thing. If you are playing flank and you are playing the angle like this, just check the cubby. And I want you to do this for offense, or if you're playing aggressively as well. Just checking this angle, just being weird, can really help your team out. What I want you to do, if you're playing aggressive and there's nobody in front of you, just start spraying the walls. Legit, just start spraying the walls, maybe peek the door in big door. Do whatever you can to try and catch the spy. The sooner you can catch him, the better. And if he doesn't get caught at all, that's comms against your team, that's comms on where you're at. Now you have to play around that. Now you have to go flank. Or now you have more of a precedence to go flank. That's when he can start decloaking and spawn and killing your medic when you're least expecting it. So, if you're playing aggressive, there's nothing that you can do. If you're playing flank, there might not be something that you can do. Because you're probably fighting people. And if you're not, why would you look at your spawn? For the spy? That's weird. That should be your other people's job. But that should also be everybody's job. You get what I mean, right? Like, these are the kind of things that people think about normally. That just sort of happen. And I'm not saying to chimp out for the spy. Absolutely chimp out for the spy. But I'd much rather you do it when you're in a position that's aggressive. If you're playing passive, sure, you might be able to do it because you have nothing better to do. But then people can start walking in at the same time that spy's walking in. And then, oops, now you're dead because you tried checking for a spy instead of looking in front of you. Realistically, it should just be your pyro's job. It should be everybody's job who's playing on combo. And you're not a part of the combo. But it should also be on everybody to check for him. So please be aware. Alright, with that, that's the final thing I'll say about Vigil. I'll get this uploaded soon, but yeah, I appreciate you all for coming in, and hope this review kind of opens your eyes a bit. So yeah, I'll catch you later. See you.